everybody, this is Javi. You're watching the Bowtie Psychic here on Instagram and on YouTube. And I'm gonna put this on here or whatever social media outlet that I put this on. But I am actually doing this video in regards to energy and time travel and your inner child energy. So I'm actually reading or writing a book about my childhood, and I don't know whether or not you've heard this week's episode on my podcast, but I talk about the various selves and how, come on, boo boo, and how every part of yourself is wanting to heal. It's not just the 5-year-old or the 10-year-old, but it's all kinds of parts of yourself because we go through many different stages and they have their own set of events, that left imprints. You know what I mean? And so the reason why I'm doing this video is because I wanted to tell you about the energy that lingers around those imprints when you are actually doing the work. As I said before, I'm doing a novel, and I was writing about an experience that happened to me, um, or a few experiences that happened to me in the first and second grade. And I noticed that while I was doing the writing, a lot of that energy um, was coming up because I'm remembering, and I am, time traveling by going back, energetically to that time. And so I noticed that there's my cat, the energy still lingers, and when you are doing that work, you also have to remember to protect yourself um, energetically. Okay, so remember, that when you are doing any sort of inner child energy work, you are to also disconnect yourself from the memory, disconnect yourself from the energy of that memory and that imprint while you are removing it. So, what I do is basically remind myself that, remind my inner child anyway, that for one, she is not, um, there's nothing wrong with her. She didn't deserve what she received, and I'm there to protect her. I'm there to protect her. Okay. And when you're listening closely, remember that your inner child talks to you, in those instances. So be aware of what your inner child is saying, of the questions they're asking. Also be aware that you may have memories of what others look like depending on where you are, in the memory stage. So you may remember your teacher. Like I know I remembered my teacher. I remember I had a couple of teachers in the first and second grade, and they were co-teaching and they were very abusive towards us. I remember, excuse me, I remember, what the classroom looked like. I remember that the sun, shining in the classroom because there were so many windows. I remember some of the students and what the students looked like. A lot of them were predominantly black. I can only count on one hand how many white students we had. So, and I actually remember one of them, the white student we have. His name was Damien. There was also another one named Zach. So I remember that. So I had to, and so does my inner child. Like they're standing in that situation. That 7 or 8 year old person is standing in that situation, and so I have to tell them, like I, Javi, you know, this 38-year-old individual, had to tell them like, look, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing you didn't do anything to cause this. Now you're safe now, and we can actually walk out of this situation. Okay, and so and that's what you have to do. For your inner child, whenever you are going through any sort of situation where you're time traveling back to a place in your life where trauma has occurred, or where you want to remember something, and you want your inner child to be at peace with something, you know, be sure, be sure to let them know that they can get out of that situation, and you will lead them out of that situation and bring them into their present moment. Okay, you can put your hand over your heart, you can go through a meditative state, but basically, what the whole premise of this is to disconnect yourself from the energy of that moment, so it's not lingering, okay, within you, or lingering and messing your whole life up. Because um, if you don't disconnect yourself from it, depending on the severity of the trauma, it could definitely disrupt your day to day life, okay? Because that's not your story, that is that of your inner child. And if you don't leave them out of that situation, they're going to stay in that situation. It's going to bother you. So, I'm doing this video to let you know that while doing this type of energy, be or working with the inner child energy, be aware of the energy and how you feel and what you're thinking, how you're reacting, um, and do the work. You know, the energetic disconnection. You know, technique to to make sure that you're okay and you're able to function and your inner child or whatever self that you're working with, they're not in in that situation still, because y'all both have the power to walk out. Okay, if y'all have any questions, by all means let me know. If this video makes sense, if y'all need clarification, please let me know. um, in the comments. You can also email me at um, the Inner Child Collective or Inner Child Collective Podcast at gmail.com, or you can just leave a comment or leave a question if you have one. But I just wanted to let you know what I was going through and how you could disconnect yourself from that energy. All right, y'all have a good rest of the night. Peace.